Hey y'all, it's Kathy and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. As I was telling y'all in a previous upload that I would put together a mesh wreath online for y'all and show y'all the process of how I do it. So that's what today's video is going to be about. If you do like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and if you would like to see more content, go ahead and hit the subscription button and the bell notification so you can be notified when I do upload a new video. Now, the first things first, so the things that you're going to need, of course, is your mesh wreath form. These, I just got this at Dollar Tree. I did purchase these in bulk, so I have several of them. I can't remember exactly how much I paid for them, but the shipping was free because I did have it shipped to a store here where I live. The next thing you will need is some zip ties. Any kind of zip tie will do. I do like the black ones. Although you don't really see them on the mesh, I just prefer to have the black zip ties. You'll also need some cutters in order to cut the ends of the zip ties off, or scissors in order to cut the end of the yarn off, and of course your mesh material. Now, I do have 8 here. Sometimes it takes me a little bit more, but I have 8 of these meshes, and then I have 2 of the glow in the dark meshes, and that's what we're going to be working with today. Or this is tulle, but that's what we're going to be working with today. The first thing you want to do is decide which color you want to start with and your pattern that you're going to go with. I'm thinking that with this wreath, I am going to go alternating the colors, or I might do 2 purple, 2 orange, 2 purple, 2 orange, and so on and so forth like that. Depending on how full it is once I get started. You want to take your mesh and make a hoop on the end of it. However big you want the hoop, you can make it bigger or smaller. This is about the size that I'm going to do mine, and kind of make sure you have it spread out. And then take that hoop and we're going to stick it into the first section of our wire wreath holder. And then you want to, without going all the way to the end, you want to make sure that section is still sticking out. You want to take that part, get you a zip tie, and then latch it, go underneath the wire right here. And then you want to bring it around to the other side, but you want to go around the top of the wire this time instead of going underneath it. And then secure it into your zip tie. There we go. Make sure you get it pretty tight. And then cut the end of that zip tie off. I always have to be careful with these because they always want to pinch me. And then you've got a starting point for your wreath. The next hoop, you want to form another hoop. This hoop is going to go in between the next section of your wreath. And I always pull it pretty tight because I don't want to waste any of this mesh. So I make sure to pull that as tight as I can get it out. And it may be a little bit bigger than the first one. It may be a little bit smaller. That's okay, because you're not really going to be able to tell that it is smaller. And I do find that these zip ties, if you make sure that they are on the flat side, then you can get it secured. It's got the little grooves to lock it in place. The same thing with this one. We're going to go underneath this middle wire, around the hoop, the mesh, and then back over to the top of the wire. And then secure it in place. Now that is all I'm going to do with these securing them in place. I just wanted to get it locked down in place. The rest of it, I'm just going to start weaving in and out between this one and this one and this one and this one. And I'm just going to go back and forth like that. Use a zip tie on it just to kind of give me a little bit more leverage there. Again, I went through the bottom hoop, so I'm going to go in through the middle hoop here, go around the loop, and back to the other side. And then I'm going to secure it though, because I'm going to bring it back to the top of the middle hoop and not the bottom of the middle hoop. And I need to turn that around somehow. There we go. Click that off. Then you've got a little bit more leverage there. The colors of the Halloween. I love seeing all the kids in their Halloween costumes. And then this end here, we're just going to kind of gently take it off the roll. And if you've got enough to make another hoop, make another hoop, your last hoop. This one we will need to secure with a zip tie. I do have enough, so I'm going to go ahead and make another loop. Secure that end. And see, what I mean is you can pull it to the other side and then you can straighten up each of your, I call them hoops, but just pull them apart and then you can straighten them up. So if they get mixed up and bunched up together, don't worry about it. You can pull them apart, mold them, put them wherever you want them, and then it will be fine. And you'll notice I have some that are bigger than the other ones. Your preference, if you want them to be all the same size and make your hoops the same size, I really don't worry about that too much. It just always works out for me. So I just pull them through. As long as they are pretty close to the same size, I don't really worry about it. I think that is looking pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and go on to orange. It generally is, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sections to the wreath, and that's pretty much what I try to stick with. Unless you want it fuller, then you can add more to each section, but I at least try to go with at least one round of mesh, 1 tube of mesh per section. That's looking pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and go on to the orange, and I will be right back. Okay, this is how I find it useful for me to do this, is to put it in my lap just like this. It's kind of hard to do. I got the camera there right now, but then I've got a little bit more control out of it, and I can just start rolling. I just find it a little bit more easier for me to do like this than the other way around. But as you go, you learn what's easiest for you. Okay, I've decided to just do half of the orange mesh. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off. It's really easy to cut with your scissors. I'm gonna secure the end of that, fan them out. And I fan them out after I get done doing each color, because it just kind of helps me see where I'm at. You can wait until the end when you're done, but it just kind of helps me see the fullness, how much fuller I want it or how much fuller I want it. And this one, I got that hoop just a little bit too big, but that's okay. That's okay. Everything is fixable. And I did notice this particular wreath does have some ends on it. I just go along and cut those ends off. So they're not showing. No, that's not open. There we go. And you will move these around, and you will come back and you will move them again, and or that's what I find that I do a lot, is I just keep moving the meshes around. Now I did decide to go ahead and do the purple glow in the dark tool. I decided to go ahead and do it in between the orange. Hey y'all, voiceover Kathy here. I don't know if I say this later on in the video, but this is actually tulle and not mesh. Now this is the first time that I've worked with tulle with the wreath, but my daughter-in-law really wanted this incorporated into her wreath. I will say that it was very difficult to work with, weaving it in and out, and it stuck to everything. How fun is this that this tulle actually glows in the dark? I'm not sure how much it glows in the dark. I haven't checked it out. It would be interesting to know exactly how much it does glow in the dark though. I'm gonna go look. So I just went and looked in the bathroom with the light off, and I really didn't see anything, but maybe it needs to be in a light for a minute. I don't know, but it was interesting to see. I'm going to do this the same way I did the mesh. I hope this works out. I've never really done this before, but we're about to find out. You only know if you try, so we're about to find out. Oh man, it really sticks to that mesh. Man. Hopefully this goes together good. I'm going to do the same thing with this tulle that I did with the mesh, and I'll come back. Okay, I got the tulle on, and as you can see, that tulle was pretty messy. it was pretty darn messy. I've got it everywhere. I'm gonna stop on my head here. But I got it on, so now I'm gonna go to the next section. It's just a little bit of tulle. So maybe it will kind of add to the texture and give it a little bit of sparkle, a little glam to our Halloween wreath. So I'm gonna go on and finish the orange mesh, and then I'll start again on a purple mesh. And I'm probably not gonna do, because I only have two of these, or one purple and one orange. So I'm not gonna do the orange one until I get to the other side of the wreath, and I'll do the orange one in between. I'll have a purple one and do the orange one in between it. And here is the finished wreath. For the remainder of the video, I am just going to be doing a voiceover. But now that the wreath is completed, it's time to put all the bells and whistles on it. I'm really happy with how it turned out. The tulle, because it is so thin, it did end up being rather scrunched up together. So I don't recommend using that at all when you are doing your wreath. For this wreath, I did pick out these adorable bows that have skeleton heads in the middle of them. There are 3 of those. Along with those, the purple bats, those do come with 4. My plan is to put the orange bows where the purple mesh is and the purple bats where the orange mesh is. So to do that, I'm going to put them where I want them before I hot glue them on, just in case I change my mind, so that way I'm already committed because I've already hot glued them onto a certain section. So that's what I'm doing here, is I am just deciding where I want to put the pieces on the mesh wreath. Now that I have the pieces on the wreath where I want them, I want to take off the backs of the pieces. On the back of the bats, they do have a clip that I'm going to be taking off. It's really easy to take off. You just hold onto the clip and twist it off, and it comes right off. Really easy to get those pieces off. On the back of the bows, they have like a twist tie, like one of those things that you get on the end of a bread wrapper. Just untwist that and then gently pull it out, and they come right out. You just have to be really gentle. And with these particular bows, they do have glitter, and glitter is going everywhere, but that's okay. This is going to be an awesome, fun wreath. Now, using your hot glue gun, you can go through and put a small dab of hot glue on the back of each of your ornaments and place them on the wreath where you wanted them. Being careful not to burn yourself, as the hot glue will seep through the mesh a little bit. On these flowers, I did notice that they had 2 little spiders on the stems of them. I'm going to pull those little spiders off and place them on the wreath somewhere else. My daughter-in-law had this adorable little skeleton that I'm going to place on the wreath where I want him to be. I'm just going to put a little dab of hot glue at the top of his head, and then a little dab of the hot glue on his spinal column at the bottom, so that way he will stay up against the wreath and not fall down. With the remainder of the flowers, I cut the stems away from the main branch to make them a little bit smaller, and then I hot glued them down to the skeleton's hands, and then crossed the skeleton's hands to form like praying hands to hold up against the flowers. I have 2 strings of bat lights, and before I place them on the wreath, I want to go ahead and make sure that they do work before I place them on the wreath, so that way I don't have broken lights on the wreath. These are battery operated lights, so you want to make sure that you put your battery pack down the center of the wreath and going out the back of the wreath. Pulling the lights taut, you want to place them where you want them to be before you hot glue them to the wreath. We are only going to hot glue just the bulb part of the bats to the wreath. These little bats do have little faces printed on the front of them, so I want to make sure their little faces pointed outwards so that they can be seen from the front of the wreath. Now I have this vine and I'm going to clip away the edges of the vine so that way I can hide the black part of the string of lights. That way it doesn't look, it just kind of camouflages that string and looks more like twine or black branches coming off of the wreath. Now I'm just placing a small dab of hot glue on the back of each of the branches in order to place them on the wreath, but I'm not going to put the wreath, that hot glue, anywhere near the electrical wiring of the string of lights. I'm just placing it just close enough to where it camouflages the wire, but not actually touching the wire with the hot glue. For the electrical string that's going through the middle of the wreath, you want to go ahead and start camouflaging those up inside each of your hoops, so that way it's kind of camouflaged and you can't see that the electrical string light is going through the middle of your wreath. You can then gently turn your wreath over, making sure that your battery packs do not go back through the front of the wreath. And then you want to place your battery packs where you want them on the wreath. Since I do have 2 battery packs here, I am going to place them on opposite ends of the wreath, one on each side, so that way it balances out the wreath when it is hanging on your door. If I had 1 battery pack, I would then only place the battery pack at the top of the wreath. You want to make sure that the opening to your battery pack is facing outward, so that way it's easy for you to change out your batteries when they do die. Also, you want to make sure that your on-off switch is somewhere placed where it's easily accessible to turn your lights on and off. Now I'm going to slide a ribbon through the top wire and then tying it in a double knot, and I'm also going to put some hot glue around the double knot part of it just to make sure that it is secured and it's not going to fall, and then that way you have a piece to hang your wreath from on your door. And then I cut any of the excess ribbon that's left hanging from the ends of the knot. And here is the finished wreath. I think he turned out so cute. Everything that I did use to make the wreath, I did pick up from Dollar Tree, except for the skeleton. My daughter-in-law, of course, she already had the skeleton, but he's so cute, and I really like how it did turn out. Don't forget, if you did like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, hit the subscription button. I'd love for you to come hang out with me. I hope everyone's having a great day and a great week. And if you're not, let's make it one. And I'll see you in the next one. Mwah.